it's Justine, and today I'm showing you a technique video on products that work both on black and white cardstock. Now today I am participating in an event that I organize called Papercrafters Unite Against Racism, where anyone can come together to support the community of color through art and card making and paper crafting. So I hope you'll follow along. The next person is linked below in the video description. If you'd like more information, you're welcome to head over to my blog where I have all sorts of information about the event. So let's dive straight into the techniques that I want to show you today, and I will be completing my cards with sentiments of encouragement and inspiration. So first we're going to start off with Crackle Mousse, and Crackle Mousse, or any type of paste really, generally works with this technique. So I'm going to be using a really intricate stencil. You can choose whichever stencil you like. Keep in mind that the thicker your Crackle Mousse is, the more it's going to crack. So I'm doing a pretty thin layer on mine because I want some minor detail, but I don't want it overtaking the power of the intricacy of the stencil. So I'm using my stencil to apply this smoothly to my cardstock, both the black and the white, and I'm just wiping along. I'm also going to go ahead and fill in that area at the top that's just plain cardstock because I think it'll give it a little bit of a cool look. Now keep in mind when you're doing this on black and white cardstock, the color of your paste, of course, you're going to get a more dramatic looking effect on black and white cards using bright and vibrant colors versus using maybe white or black, because that won't show up as well on the other type of the cardstock. Not that that really matters, you'll get a really pretty tone on tone look anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the stencil now. You'll see how intricate and gorgeous that turned out, and I'm going to leave that to dry. Now I'm going to go and show all the cards close up at the very end of the video, so be sure to stick around for that, and I'll let you know what dies and stamps I used. The next one I'm going to do is embossing powders, and embossing powders are really amazing, especially the ones from WOW. So I'm going to be using a thicker sentiment here. I really want a solid image, and I'm going to be using an embossing powder from WOW. You're going to want to check out and make sure that the embossing powder is opaque, and what's nice about WOW embossing powder, they are the embossing powder specialists, so when you go on their website, it will say whether an embossing powder is translucent or opaque. And if it's opaque, it's going to show up on black cardstock. There also is the O that shows up on the label if it's opaque as well, so it makes it easier when you're searching for your embossing powder. So this is really thick embossing powder. You'll see that it's got some thin areas, it's got some thick white and black sort of pieces in it, and these are really cool to use on thicker sentiments or thicker images, solid images, because they just melt in a whole other way than fine detail embossing powder. So I'm going to go ahead and just tap off that excess embossing powder, and then I'm going to go ahead with my heat gun and I'm going to just heat that up and make sure that it is really nice and melted, and those white and black pieces are going to melt a lot differently than the regular ones. So you can see how that shows up on black and white cardstock. Now this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. Anything that has to do with advocating for the rights of humans. This isn't a political issue, this is an issue of humanity. I personally believe that until the rights of everyone are equal in the world, then we cannot stop fighting for it. So in our little art community, even though it might seem like a perfect little place and a place of refuge for so many, we have to remember that the people around us and even people who are part of our crafting community may not have the privilege of having a place of refuge. And therefore, I wanted to just be able to show my support, and I hope that in doing this event, I haven't done anything to offend anyone. I don't know about you, but I often find it really difficult to come up with the right words to describe how I'm feeling in the situation, and I find it difficult to figure out what it is that I can do to help. I think there's so many people out there that are looking for a way to help that isn't offensive or seen as self-righteous or coming across as inappropriate. So my aspiration and hope for this hop is kind of similar to my aspiration and hope in card making in general. So whenever someone receives a paper crafting project, a card, a scrapbook, whatever that is handmade by someone else, it brings joy. And I'm hoping that in these difficult times, this hop brings joy in the sense that we know that there's unity in our paper crafting community. So moving on now to Distress Oxide inks. This is going to work with your pigment inks. It won't work with traditional dye inks, but give them a try if you have pigment inks other than Distress Oxide and see what happens. And these inks are really great for working on both white and black cardstock. So I'm going in with Picked Raspberry, Wilted Violet, and Peacock Feathers. And they generally keep their color really well on black cardstock as well, which is really great. And I'm using a beautiful stencil here. I'm going to use the same one for both projects. And I'm just going through when I'm blending, making sure I go back and forth between the colors in between each layer. So don't forget, I'll go into each card with more detail and you can really see it up close at the end of the video. And I'm going now in with some Perfect Pearls. Now, Perfect Pearls are my favorite thing pretty much in my craft room because they're really versatile and they're really cheap, and that's really awesome. So I can collect a lot of colors without feeling really guilty. So I'm going in and I am stamping with some embossing ink, the same I would use for heat embossing. Then I'm going in with a dry brush and some of the Perfect Pearls. And all you need to do is just add the powder to the cardstock over top of that embossing ink. That's really important. So going in now, I'm just going to add a couple of different colors here. I'm adding some purple, some pink, and some of the traditional white Perfect Pearls, and then just covering the entire background. And this is a really great way to get more of your background stamps. All you need to do when you are finished is just mist it with some water. Now, I don't mean spray water really directly on your paper. You're going to grab a mister bottle, spritz it into the air. Hopefully it's a fine water particle mister bottle, so it doesn't have any like big drops on it, and just flick it through the air, your cardstock. What that does is it sets the Perfect Pearls so it doesn't come off on your fingers. It also gives it a little bit more of a metallic look. Now at the end of this video, I'm going to link to a video on 10 ways that you can use Perfect Pearls, which you might want to check out when it's all finished. The next one I'm going to go into is Distress Oxide Spray, which is made up of a similar formula to the Oxide inks that we used previously. Now, I'm not a spray person. When I first got these, I was like, why do I need these? I don't really need sprays. I don't use them. But when I saw them go onto black cardstock, it was like, whoa, game changer. So I decided to invest in just the 5 colors I generally use most with my Oxide inks, and then which is yellow, orange, pink, purple, blue. And I just spray this on here, and you can spray it over top of a stencil or however you like to apply your sprays. And then I'm going to finish off my cards super easily after that. All right, so here's a final look at those 2 cards, which turned out really, really pretty when they were all dry. All right, can you believe we've made 10 cards already, or 10 backgrounds? So I'm going to go through the cards now that we created, and I'll read off the sentiments to you. So we have hang in there, things feel impossible until they are done. And sometimes when things are falling apart, they may actually be falling into place. Done with the Crackle Mousse. Moving on to embossing powder, again, those blender embossing powders with the thick and the thin pieces of embossing powder with Never Lose Hope and You Know I Care. Then I moved on with a beautiful transformation butterfly stamp, and it says, be the change that you wish to see in the world. And on the inside I stamped, we cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. And then on the right, I believe that friends are quiet angels who lift us to our feet when our wings have trouble remembering how to fly. Then we have life is tough, but so are you, and don't lose hope because when the sun goes down, the stars come out. Beautiful sentiments from Altenew. And I like that I was able to decorate that with stars as well, some silver stars. And then for the last 2 cards, we have the difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations, common saying, and I can't promise to fix all your troubles, but I can promise you won't face them alone. So perfect sentiments for the unity theme of this hop. Thank you so much everyone for watching. Don't forget to check out the video hop, the blog hop, and the Instagram hop for this event. And don't forget to check out the 10 ways to use Perfect Pearls, which I mentioned earlier, and to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching and have an amazing week.